What genuinely useful thing has been ruined by stupid people? Story 1, state parks, but more tainted than ruined. My husband and I hiked at 2 separate state parks this weekend, and I was appalled. We saw dog poop, dirty diapers, water bottles, and food wrappers on almost every trail we walked. Also, for the love of God, nobody wants to listen to your music. Use headphones, you heathen. Story 2, Airbnb. A cool couch surfing idea that became a way to rent a spare room and save a little money on a hotel got turned into a way to cut off housing supply and create a housing crisis, all by its own users. Story 3, online recipe blogs. I understand the value of sharing experiences and the personal touch, but scrolling through pages of life stories and reflections on the changing seasons just to find the temperature for baking chicken thighs can be maddening. The recipe gets snowed under an avalanche of context and anecdotes. It's especially tedious on mobile, where your battery life ebbs away as you swipe past the tales of childhood and pictures of someone's dog wearing a chef's hat. What started as a wholesome platform to share kitchen wisdom has become a test of patience, where we're forced to dig like culinary archaeologists to find the treasure trove, the actual list of ingredients and instructions. We've taken the concept of passing down recipes and wrapped it in the literary equivalent of a thick wool sweater. Heartwarming, but not when you're in a hurry. Story 4. Emotional support animals and service animals. Contrary to popular belief, they are not the same thing at all, and stupid people getting fake ESAs has bled into it, harming people with service animals. Only a medical professional can prescribe an ESA, not a website or registry, and an ESA is not allowed in public spaces like a service animal. It just allows the animal to live with you in places that usually wouldn't allow animals or pets. Story 5. Edit. Green traffic lights. Some people just sit at a green light not knowing the light is green because they're distracted by their radio or phone, and it takes till someone beeps their horn that they notice they have a green light and waste the light for everyone else as the light turns yellow and red after they go. Story 6. Plastic. Incredibly useful material. Totally ruined by selfish people discarding it without a thought. Corporations for prioritizing profits over the environment, cosmetic companies for creating microplastics, and governments for not doing anything about it. Story 7. Tough one, but Google Wave. It would have revolutionized user-to-user communication and collaboration, and most of the numerous failings of modern social media simply wouldn't have been possible if we were all using Wave to access it. Wave was 3 things: a concept, a protocol, and an app. The idea was the app was in the user's control. The protocol was open so anyone could build an app to consume all the data. The problem was, to demonstrate this, Google threw together a horrible, unintuitive, lumpy Java app, and then, and what I think was a first for Google, made an early beta of the app, which was nearer alpha quality, available to the masses. The masses being stupid people who didn't read up on what Wave was all about. They just played with the app and hated it, and therefore decreed that Wave was dead before it even launched, which was a real shame, as under the hood it was a real game changer. Story 8. Conversations. People don't understand that information isn't just found on FB, Insta, and other social media platforms. They repeat ridiculous things they see posted by someone they don't know and state it as fact because I read it. Common sense is gone. Critical thinking, gone. People liking things doesn't make it true. And this whole I feel like it's true BS has to stop already. Facts aren't what you feel. Story 9. Bike paths, traffic calming, and pedestrian-friendly design. Us little people figured all this was a great idea, and it was intuitively obvious where they do the most good. Political hacks see the opportunity for glory projects, skip the obvious opportunities in areas of need, ignore local input, and blow through piles of money on reinventing the wheel, which they call innovative in the press release, and boondoggles in areas where there was no realistic demand or need for such amenities. For the tiny few who do find the new construction helpful, maintenance will be neglected as the politicos set more money on fire chasing another shiny thing. Story 10. At least in my area, pick your own farms. It used to be a way to get seasonal produce in bulk for a low cost because you supplied the labor of picking it. Then it became trendy to do. Now it is full of people and kids making a mess, damaging plants, picking unripe items, or deciding what they picked isn't perfect and throwing it on the ground and eating huge amounts instead of buying. Farms have been forced to massively raise prices to compensate for the losses caused by people who have no business being in the field. Story 11. One genuinely useful thing that comes to mind is social media. Initially designed to connect people and foster communication, it's been somewhat ruined by trolls, misinformation, and cyberbullying. The negative behavior of a minority has overshadowed its original purpose, making it a less enjoyable and reliable space for many users. Story 12. Digital media in general. TV, internet, video games. Other than the latter one, these media can be super useful. But practically speaking, screens have just become executive dysfunction induction machines that people use as an escape to never truly start living. Screens have stolen so many years of my life, it's crazy. Story 13, Google search. It used to find exactly what the user was searching for immediately. Then Google discovered it was more profitable to show irrelevant search results that companies paid to boost. What was previously the holy grail of SEO is now so useless that I just search Reddit instead. Story 14, food delivery. Tried to hand my buddy cash and told him I'd pay for pizza. He couldn't find anywhere to order from without paying first through an app. People are stupid for accepting this as the new norm. Tipping before you receive the service? Delivery drivers seeing the tip before they take a delivery is ridiculous. Story 15. I feel like access to a lot of scheduled drugs in the US were ruined by stupid people. I don't think stupidity is the only reason, but it's an arguably large one. That and simple construction projects that require multiple permits and inspections where only licensed tradespeople can pull permits. If stupid people didn't do so much hack work, it'd be easier for those of us who know construction codes and will follow them to do our own work. Story 16, higher education. Parents in the 1960s saw that a degree guarantees you a cushy and respected job with a corner office, company car, and hot secretary. So they made their kids ashamed of blue-collar jobs and pushed them into higher education. Now the Western, and probably most of the Eastern world, we have overeducated population. With only so many elite jobs to go around, so many are underemployed. Story 17, Bitcoin. Developed to create a decentralized currency for ordinary people that is not controlled by banks or governments, read the rich and powerful. Quickly became a convenient, unregulated speculation object for the rich and powerful, as well as a great tool for money laundering. Story 18, gas cans. I promise more gas is spilled today than was ever wasted in the past with normal cans that just had a spout. Part of the problem is how the new cans are designed. They build them for a car and they work oakish for that purpose. But who uses a gas can on their car? People want to fill motorcycles or lawnmowers or leaf blowers and countless other small engines with small tanks where you can't shove a weird foreskin, activated 4-inch long gas spout into a tank 2 inches deep and expect it to work properly. Story 19. Anything that's free. The church I would frequent when I was a teen had a free soup kitchen that was also a place for homeless people to stay inside during harsh weather. The church would even hire some as janitors to help them get back on their feet. It went great for years until some dude came and claimed he got sick from the food. He tried to sue the church for it. He just made threats, never got a lawyer who would take up the case. Story 20. The internet is #1 contender, but I think driving has an argument as well. Between road rage, people getting shot pulling up to the wrong address, and just all the people that were able to pass the driver's exam, but then somehow decide they can't or don't want to follow the rules of the road. Also, a lot of streets can be confusing/dangerous intersections outside of a driver's control, such as during construction. Sometimes pedestrians don't know the laws, not even going to get into the gas versus EV thing. Story 21, cell phones. The age of entitlement that has descended upon humanity can be traced directly back to the inception, development, and progression of the cell phone culture. I hate them with every ounce of my being, but I'll be the first to admit that my life falls apart when I lose it, or am without it for even a day. Sad. Story 22. Public transportation, especially in Southern California. We have a huge business district where everyone works, and almost all of those people live less than 20 minutes away as the crow flies. It turns into a daily one. 2-hour commute for everyone with traffic. A high-speed railway would be so overwhelmingly efficient. But where does our public transportation go? Only through the ghettos and homeless encampments. If you want to go anywhere else, it's a 2-3 hour bus trolley hop as you fight off the mentally ill. Story 23. In some states in the United States, public libraries. Libraries are some of the only places left in the U.S. that you can be without having to spend money. The latest series of book bans and fear-mongering laws over regulating access to books are keeping minors from being able to visit libraries in their own and force librarians to card adults for access to areas that contain normal books. Story 24, Sweden. We had a good thing going. Systems could rely on trust. Then over the years, they discovered they could get away with greasing their palms with taxpayer money. And then the world learned that we had the most gullible society in modern history and moved here to exploit our weaknesses, which emboldened everyone from corporates to private people to throw away their morals for personal gain. There's still a large part of society that has morals and are well-behaved, but enough have started to flip out to upset the balance. Story 25. Facial expressions. They were an amazing tool for gauging the state of mind that other people were in until we began forcing people in customer service or just in general to always be smiling even when they don't feel like it. Now we have no idea whether the person we are talking to or seeing is happy or depressed or angry, so we can't adjust the interaction to fit that, and it is harder for us to see signs of danger or signs that someone needs help. Story 26, jobs. Everything from the hiring process to the jobs themselves, where you go in for an interview and the hiring manager clearly thinks there's something special and you should be kissing their boots or high heels just for them taking the time to interview you. Then after the interview, they don't even have the courtesy to let you know when they've decided to go with someone else. Then if you do get hired, these same people that think they were born to be management have no idea how to properly train people or organize or delegate work properly, all while they do as little work as possible but claim all sorts of extra benefits and perks, while the ones actually doing the work have to race to keep up with unrealistic quotas. Story 27. Driving, it's a necessity to get around but has become steadily more unbearable. I get blinkers are expensive, and you might die if you don't immediately check that text, but steel chariots that run on explosions are a bit dangerous. It's a miracle every time I make it home without a stupid running into my vehicle, or cutting me off dangerously, driving in 2 lanes, or riding the passing lane at a laughable speed while playing Candy Crush. Story 28. There is a weight loss drug that keeps your body from using its normal sources of energy, so a workout is burning directly from body fat. This was in the 60s. The problem is that converting fat is an exothermic reaction. It generates heat. People were like, oh, if I take 2 pills and do this workout, I'll lose a pound. So if I take 6 pills, I'll lose 3. No, you cook yourself to death painfully and horribly from the inside out. So we made it illegal. Story 29. Retail. More specifically, expert retail workers. It used to be you would go into most stores and there was a person in the shoe department who would measure your feet, keep a shoehorn in their pocket, and make informed recommendations. There was someone who worked in women's intimates who would measure you. That guy who worked in suits who could look at a guy and guess his jacket size. People who could tell you the difference between denim brands and could advise you on what brands ran small. When I worked in retail 10 plus years ago, they required us to be familiar with the brands we carried, recommend accessories, and spend time with the customers who wanted help. But companies no longer value that kind of expertise and just want a body at a register. I think the lack of in-store inventory and disappearance of knowledgeable store associates has ruined brick-and-mortar shopping. Story 30. Faith-based rehabilitation centers or faith-based any kind of business. Used to be, at least where I grew up, they were pretty solid businesses. Then at some point around college, I started noticing every panhandler and bum would say, God bless you, or use their testimony to try and grift money. Almost got to the point where it was like someone showing me their driver's license to prove they were whatever. Now, anytime someone mentions God, religion, or anything contextually related to it, I immediately freeze up, put my hand up and say no thank you and quickly walk away. Also, cell phones. You have to actually stop and read the privacy policy on websites now because everyone sells information, and if they sell information to someone else, you can bet your ass it'll eventually be sold to carters or scam centers. I have to reject all but useful on every website I visit, even sites I'd previously trust without thinking about it because these assholes can't not use every possible opportunity to profit off of any shred of information you provide. Story 31. Masks. Popularized by a pandemic, continued by way of teenagers and other reprobates using masks, which evolved into using balaclavas to obscure their faces to commit crimes. At least that's what's going on here in the UK. Now there's been calls to ban balaclavas, and it's been deemed pointless because they'll just use face masks, which can't be banned. Realistically, no one needs a balaclava in a country like the UK, especially not large groups of aggressive teenagers, supposedly tough but can't handle the cold on their face. Nah, they just want to be anonymous to commit crime. Story 32. People here reading OP's question and just saying what useful things have been ruined by people. Not anything related to stupid people. Smart people are the ones who know how to bend rules or take advantage of a system or service to their personal gain. Stupid people do stupid things. These are not things ruined by the dumb. Story 33. I've been around long enough to live through the transition from services like CompuServe and AOL and was in academia during the early days. I think what people don't always realize is how small it was back then. Most of the users were either academics, students, or government workers. Pre-search engine we used Gopher, Archie, and other services to find stuff. That was curated by humans. The huge change came with AOL decided to become a gateway to the internet. It wasn't that AOL was bad per se, it's that there was a lot of netiquette that was tribal and enforced by the community at large, and all of a sudden there were a lot of people coming from a place where there is little to no netiquette, and the community didn't self-enforce. I've never looked to see if there has been research on whether or not that was the tipping point, but seeing it happen in real time makes me think it had to have started the changes in tone and tenor. I suspect that search engines were the other push, as content became less curated. Story 34, semaglutides. Once we got out that this diabetes medication was effective for weight loss, everybody felt like they were 10 pounds overweight, started bugging their doctors for medications like Ozempic. The resulting influx of demand forced insurance companies to clamp down on approving this drug. Now, instead of being able to treat my diabetes effectively, I have to basically use medication and methods that would otherwise be unnecessary, or pay prohibitively expensive prices for medication that my insurance should be paying for. And don't get me wrong, we can go back and forth about whether it's the drug company or the insurance or the docs that overprescribe or people who abuse prescription drugs like this. Either way, I'm the one who ends up paying. Story 35, free book stations. Here where I live, they have these small storage spots. Looks like birdhouses, I guess, with a door and roof on. They are regularly filled with books. The idea is you put your unwanted books in and take one, two, etc. But someone always comes along and just takes everything. Free dog poop bag stations. We also have what is called Fido stations. That is simply just a dog poop bag dispenser for people to freely use. Sadly, this too. People just take everything from it, which is baffling to me. Dog poop bags are super cheap to buy. Story 36. My city had a lot of those electric scooters. Probably 8, 10 different brands. You could walk one block and pass 20 of them. They were cheap, efficient modes of transportation. Didn't need to worry about finding parking, paying for parking, waiting on ride shares, paying for ride shares, and could zip a few blocks quickly. Then people started just abandoning them in the middle of the street, at storefronts, in the middle of sidewalks, using them recklessly, not following traffic laws and getting hurt. Now they are all banned, and it costs minimum $30 for a quick lift.